Welcome into to TWMP Daily, actually. I am joined by Jake Crozen, the man with a fresh, love a tip sheet, fresh off the printer, sent out to all the subscribers of the Whispering Gallery. If you want to if you want to be up to date, you don't have to be behind like everyone else. It's not a subscriber to the Whispering Gallery. You can email Jake at MissouriTimes.com or Scott at MissouriTimes.com. We'll get you signed up. That way you're not having to be behind the times. You can be up on the times. Jake, you have a good weekend?
Yeah, it was a pretty enjoyable weekend being back at home for a little bit.
Yeah, did you go to a ball game?
I did not go to a ball game, but
you and every Royals fan.
I would have had 1 in 3 chances of going to a good Royals game.
Well, I think so highly of Mayor Lucas, Governor Kehoe, Senator Schmidt, Senator Searpoy, Senator Nicola. They almost have the Royals run out of Missouri. It is the best work since Governor Boggs ran the Mormons out. I'm a huge fan of what Governor Kehoe's doing with the "get the hell out of here, you cheating scumbags." I really support what he's doing. I mean, how do you feel? Where were you actually raised?
I was raised in Independence.
Ooh, so how far from Kaufman?
I think it was about like a 10, 15-minute drive.
So you're on the edge of the Royals fan base.
Yeah.
10 minutes from the stadium would be about where they stop being Royals fans, right?
Yeah.
I think Rockies fans start around the Plaza, and Cardinals fans start at Blue Springs. So you're in that epicenter, the eye of the storm, one might say. Will you be buying them boxes to help them pack, or what will you do?
I might get a jersey, and that's about it. Like, it's kind of like the historical moment, the last jersey they sold right before they went to Kansas.
So, yeah, I mean, what do you get, like a Buddy Biancalana or Don Dinkinger? I mean, one of the Royals greats, or
yeah, that'd probably be it.
Yeah. So you're an honest man. I mean, look at that beard. Don't you think it's only fair that they return the trophy before they leave the state from the 10/26/85 terror attack?
No, I think they should keep the trophy, and I think they should go to Kansas and they should bankrupt it.
Ill-gotten gains. All right, let's talk about the tip sheet. I'll start, then I want to ask you about some of your rankings here.
Yep.
The 26th cycle starts off with the senators that are not up for re-election. That doesn't mean somebody might resign to take a job or resign because they're just tired of it.
Yeah.
If everyone came back that's not up in 26, in January 27, you'd have 10 Republicans, 7 Democrats. Let me flip through here. The seat's not up till 28. Doug Beck's South County seat.
Yep.
That's going to be interesting when that is up, though. I think you've got Jim Murphy looking at that pretty seriously. He'll be by far the Republicans' best hope to win that seat.
Yeah, a lot of the constituents in Doug's district kind of tend to move towards Trump now when it comes to like blue collar, white working class.
There's that Webster Groves part.
That is true.
They probably hate Trump.
Fair assessment.
But Trump being a white and or orange male, they probably definitely do hate a heterosexual Christian male, even if he's orange, which really he should apply. He should be like, no, Webster Groves. I'm DEI. The first orange president we ever had. Mike Henderson, great guy. He will have no problem getting elected. Steve Roberts will be term limited. Steve Roberts' resume is better than most people know.
Yeah.
The JAG Corps work, the military work, the work he's done in private practice. If you were telling me somebody that might get tired of doing this and leave a little early for an appointment, even federally, Steve Roberts has, I guess what he has is options.
Yeah.
Then we got Patty Lewis. She'll be reelected easily. Barbara Washington, 2 more years. That's going to be kind of an interesting race till she's term limited. You have an interesting group of people that will kick the tires on that. This will be an interesting. Last time, Freedom Inc. kind of came in for Barb heavy and kind of had the race set, right?
Yeah.
She really didn't face that serious a competition. I wonder if it'll be the same, or if there'll be an actual race. I think there'll be a more competitive race to replace her than she.
I think Democrats in Kansas City tend to be pretty competitive in how they go about trying to achieve office. So I think.
Well, this time Kiki just said this is what we're doing, and they did.
Yeah.
Joe Nicola in your state Senate district.
Yep.
Okay, here's my question for you. Nicola, that seat started turning when Trump started running. That seat is the Ronnie DePasco seat. It goes back to Victor Callahan's seat. You can see his sign right here. It didn't really start to become Republican. I mean, it was competitive, I guess, but it wasn't really Republican until Trump. When Joe Nicola runs for re-election, I feel like he's going to be good. Running for re-election, high chance of winning. But for when that seat's done, you won't have Trump on the ballot.
Nope.
Are the people in Jackson County Republicans, or do they just love them some Donald Trump?
I think it depends. I think if he were to choose, I think somebody like a Representative Will Jobe, who kind of comes off more as a conservative style Democrat. I mean, that's just appearance wise.
And that's like the only hope they would have to win.
Yeah,
that.
I think he would have a pretty good chance. I think that'd be kind of the return
Keep the
to
cowboy
Victor
hat
Callahan.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that'll be an interesting one to watch later on, not right now. I think Nicola's got that pretty much locked down.
And that's one of those, you're going to have some Republican and Democrat state reps that are going to have time to build up their base
Yep.
and stuff. You will have at least Will Jobe stays elected, right?
Yep.
You'll have somebody from Bunker.
I think so.
This is your area. You're killing me.
I'm
now.
trying to remember. Well, I'm trying to remember. That would be.
You'll have someone from the eastern side of that district on the Republican
Yeah.
side. Curtis Gregory, I mean, who's going to beat Mr. Mizzou? Stephen Weber will cruise to re-election. Maggie Nurnberg. Look, I think it's possible if Trump stays incredibly popular. That's competitive, but I still think she wins it. David Gregory, he's going to have a tough time no matter what happens. It'll be very competitive. That seat will trend more Democrat, but I mean, he's the best chance to hold it. Angela Mosley's seat, we're already seeing folks talk about running for that.
Yep.
Rachel Prouty's in. Long group of folks. I think we'll talk about that a little later. Bratton, term limited along with Moon. Moon will be an interesting race. Like, who all runs from there? You got Scott Cupps down there. I'm pretty sure you still have Scott Cupps in that district.
Yes, you do.
And then you've got Christian County, probably the biggest stick. Jamie Berger is a stud. Jason Bean, term limited. You look at Cameron Parker, maybe Hardy Billington kicks the tires. Adam Schnelting in the 23rd, he'll have no trouble getting elected. And Brad Hudson in Southern Missouri. When they're up, I don't see serious challenges to them. So that takes us to 10-7 coming back.
Yep.
Then let's talk about the next kind of tranche here. There's another group of people who are up for re-election, but probably don't have serious. They don't have serious challenges. That's where I want to get into this with you here. So you have on here Tracy McCreary not having a serious challenge.
Yeah, I think she'll be perfectly fine. I think she's coming into the legislature having a pretty good record so far of getting stuff done. I don't think anybody would seriously challenge her.
I'm with you. I think she's got. I mean, if you were designing the perfect candidate to win that district, it would be Tracy McCreary. Mm-hmm. And I think the Republicans, if there is a, sometimes the consultants can talk some money to jumping into that. I think if you have a well-funded person, why would you not wait to not take on Tracy McCreary?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's some good reps in that district, but she's a really, really interesting talent.
Yeah.
I think the only way she doesn't get reelected is if she runs for Congress, which I just don't see her doing.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens this cycle, but
I think she can do more good in the state Senate. I think from the utilities debate to the crime stuff, I think she's been really impactful.
I mean, she would start off significantly the underdog in that congressional race. So if you're going to do that, you have the next infinity cycles where you're not up, run for re-election, and then worry about the next thing.
Yeah.
On here, you've got Ben Brown as not having a serious challenge. That'll take it. So the Tracy added to that would be 10-8 Republican Democrats, and then we're going to add Senator Ben Brown to that list. What do you think?
I think Senator Ben Brown is extremely popular in his district. I think he's been coming into kind of the leadership roles that he's been taking and stuff. Last week he got some serious legislation across the line with little to no hiccups or filibustering from Democrats. So I think he will be perfectly fine.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think anybody wants to. Ben has a good image. He's cultivated. Now, somehow some knuckleheads got him into some screwball thing with Dave Schatz.
Yeah.
There's not 5 more prominent constituents. These are the hiccups. So when we talk about these races, I don't really know what Ben's thinking by not just. I mean, there's some poor people on Facebook that whine, and he's got some in his district. But I mean, they just. The hardest part for someone, I think, is, and I get it because it's kind of unfair, but a guy like Ben Brown's tried to be super conservative. He's tried to dance on the head of the pin for the goofs. They're never be satisfied. No. They'll never be satisfied.
And I don't really think anybody would seriously make a primary challenge against him over Dave Schatz's confirmation.
That's totally insane. They won't. But I do think though it's a if Dave Schatz is on the ballot, a primary ballot in Franklin, then he wins by 30 points.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to realize that I think Kehoe taught us this a little bit. that minority is vocal, but they're the minority.
Yes.
It is what it is. And in Franklin County, I know they're a loud minority. And look, I think it's great. Express your opinion. But, I mean, Dave Schatz has earned the right to be just as Ben Brown. If Ben Brown were to finish serving as admirably as he has in the state Senate, you're not going to make everybody happy. If you do, you've done it really bad. I mean, if you've made everybody in Jeff City and everybody on Facebook happy, you've screwed your constituents probably.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that. I think he'll be fine. Curtis Trent, you have, is safely coming back?
Yeah, there was a couple people who were saying that possibly he could see a primary challenge from which Kelly is that down there?
Well, you have Green and you have it goes over to Webster and gets part of it. Then it goes, is that Dade County? I think it might grab.
I think so.
It's a 3-county district. Look, I think it's possible. Curtis Trent's a very effective legislator. The trial attorney has run a good run. I mean, he's a lawyer, but I think I could see. Really, I don't. I think they have too much to do. There's too many seats to defend, and there's better opportunities than go waste time and money. I mean, if you're getting recruited by someone to run against Curtis Trent, you're kind of signing up to get your ass whooped.
Yeah, and Curtis has a pretty impressive treasure chest already at his disposal, and
yes,
it seems like a waste of time to kind of throw somebody at that race.
All right, let's talk Rusty Black. The Axiom folks in Northwest Missouri are never letting Rusty get beat, are they? He probably should be higher. Nick Shore, I think Nick Shore has done everything you could do to solidify your base, to not have a primary, and there are no generals in that county. $200,000 on him. Plus, look, I think the part of Nick's game that he's shown, Nick gets fired up easy.
Yeah.
But he's kind of matured as a legislator, I think, in this session, and the proof of that is the legislation he's been able to carry, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're walking around pouting and whining and doing dumb things on Facebook, you don't get to take over the St. Louis Police Department like that.
Yeah.
You don't get in those
spots. And
spots.
he's serious enough. I mean, you made this observation a couple times during the debate, but he was serious enough about that bill. He sat in the chamber all during Carla May's filibuster.
Super respect.
And if any questions were brought up, he was there to answer.
I just think, now, once we get into just talking about people's kids or something, that's one thing. But if people are talking about your legislation, I have such a high regard for senators that sit in there with them.
Yeah.
Now, there are times you need to step out and let them blow steam off. Or I understand, if they get into rambling about clearly just rambling to fill time, you don't have to sit there and listen to that.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about the bill, I have such a respect for folks early in a filibuster, just because you might have some of the serious question. And they may not want to say it publicly. They may want to find you.
Yeah.
And you're much easier to find on the floor than in an office. Number one, Travis Fitzwater.
Yep.
I don't see Travis Fitzwater having any problem getting reelected. Of all the people whose districts lay for them to have a primary problem, it could be him. But I think he'll hold his own enough in Lincoln and Wentzville and he'll own Callaway. If you were going to take him on, the district lays in such a way where you could have a primary challenger, but it also lays in a way where it's hard.
Yeah.
Because he's going to have a lot of money, and he'll be able to saturate Wentzville and Lincoln County. And if you're from over there, you got to come to Callaway and get votes, which I don't see happening.
No, I don't see him getting primaried. I think he's done a pretty good job of keeping on the conservative line while also not going out of his way to tick people off on the left. I think he's done a pretty good job without being in leadership of doing stuff that leadership would typically do. Okay,
so if we add in Shore, Fitzwater, Black, Ben Brown, and Trent, that's going to make it 15-8. Now let's look at a couple seats where we have some folks, some Democrats are being replaced because they're term limited. That would be Senator Brian Williams, who has a very interesting group of people. This will be a Democrat seat, but man, it's an interesting group of folks that have said they are interested in it. You got Joe Palm, Shante Duncan. I would not be stunned if John Bowman, former rep, was named.
Yep.
And then I think the person who probably is the front runner, because she'll have the most connections to money from Jeff City anyway, is Rachel Prouty. She's outspoken. She's got a great photograph, got a great look. She knows how to talk. What do you think?
No, I think Rep Prouty has always been somebody who I find very impressive and who I think could go very far in Missouri politics. I think she would have a very good shot at the Senate seat. I think also, I think Joe Palm would have a pretty good shot too. He's had a pretty impressive career working in D.C. For the Biden administration. I think he did a bunch of health stuff there. He also did some stuff previously in Missouri. So I think he's got an impressive resume. But I think John Bowman could also have a pretty good shot too.
Bowman, people like John Bowman.
Yeah.
I mean, when John Bowman walks in a room, you just start smiling.
Mm-hmm.
I think Rachel Prouty, if you have Shante Duncan not run, and she's close to Cinder Roberts, so she'd have at least some friendships to start a Rolodex there, maybe.
Yeah.
But I do think if you're the only woman there, that's a huge advantage.
Yes.
If Rachel Prouty, even if it's Bowman and Joe Palm and her, she's got an advantage. While Bowman has a lot of contacts with the folks that pack folks and all those type of people, she's worked with them recently.
Yeah.
School choice folks might owe her one.
Yeah, they might.
I mean, you start talking about that district, the fundraising in that district has never been off the charts. Probably Brian set the record if I had to guess for it.
Yeah.
So it won't take all that much money to be in the money lead. If she's the only woman with the money lead, that's gonna be tough to beat. But I do think Palm's got a Rolodex he can start calling, and I know Bowman does.
Yeah, I think both of those would be close to be the second or third for that race, obviously.
I don't know Palm or Duncan that well. Rachel would be fun in the Senate, so would Bowman.
Yeah.
And they'd be very good at it. Let's talk now. Carla May retiring. There is a ton of folks looking at running to replace Cinder May, isn't there?
Yes, and there's even some that have not said they're going to said if they're going to run or not yet that are talked about.
That are thinking about it. You know, that district, it's a little bit. You think it's just North City, and it is North City, but really it's much more South City. Mm-hmm. It's got all of South City. It goes in and gets some Ladue area. It's an interestingly drawn district. I mean, if you talked back when Egan's Rats were around, if you'd have told there's only 2 state Senate seats in the city of St. Louis, and one of them spills out into Ladue, you would have said bullshit. But that's been the population loss. Excuse me. The first person out of the gate here, Steve Butts, come out. Steve will have the money advantage in this race.
Yes.
He can self-fund some if he wants to. Eminently reasonable. He reminds you of the kind of dude you'd meet in Francis Park in South City.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be decided on who actually runs, right? Because here's the thing. I see Steve Butts in South City. Peter Meredith is technically South City if you really – I mean, it's kind of in that middle area, but, I mean, he's got the connections, a similar overlap to Steve Butts. Then you have Gina Mitten, who'd be up in that Ladue, Richmond Heights area, part of the district. The one thing I'm not seeing here, Blaine Folsom is a legislative.
Yes, he's a legislative assistant in the Capitol, which is kind of an interesting jump to make. But I mean,
well, I mean, I think to be fair, I don't know what presence he has in the community.
Yeah,
I'm not an expert enough to know that. But I mean, it would be an oddity to go from never serving, and maybe he has, and I don't know his background well enough, to the state Senate.
Yeah.
But hey, go to run. The thing I don't see on here is an African American candidate.
No, which is odd.
So Michelle Crackey, I think that's just she puts our campaign, so she can keep her funds.
Yeah.
Gina Mitten being the only woman, if you're Steve Butts, right, you'd rather Peter Meredith not run. Mm-hmm. And then you'd rather 2 candidates from the north side of the district run. Hopefully they're both women and Gina Mitten, and then you feel good about it. If it's Steve Butts versus Gina Mitten, I think Steve has a marginal advantage. I think he can out fundraise.
Yeah. No, I think when it comes to money, I would have to guess that Steve would do the best out of them all.
Let me throw a name from the other part of the district. Wiley Price.
Works
for Senator May.
There's a couple people that have been talking about how he should run.
Well, I think if you're looking at this in the prism of St. Louis politics, and you see a South City guy, and you see one in the inner belt suburbs, a lady in Gina Mitten, I think you look at that and think I might have a shot at this.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually.
I mean, former representative, and he's been in that office with her for a bit now, and so I mean, he knows what the district is like, what they're up for and what they're not.
I mean, if anybody knows South City and North City well, better than Wiley Price, I want to meet him.
Yeah.
he transitions 40 very effectively. I don't know. I think before that's over, before you can really start calling a favorite, I seen you have Lean Prouty on the 14th. I think that's right as of now.
Yeah.
I mean, but I also think I see you got toss up here on the 4th.
Yeah. No, it's I think it depends on who jumps in, and at that point, especially for Carla Macy, I think it could depend on who really jumps in.
Okay, so that takes it to 15-10. So I'll have to call Sophie back. Obviously, Sophie, I can't believe you're not watching the show right now. Actually, so that'll make it 15-10. Then there's an interesting race. So we're getting close. I mean, it's right now 24-10. We're at 15-10 with the two Democrats added in. Now let's talk about Senator Carter. She's got an interesting race down in southwest Missouri. And it comes down to, will she face a primary opponent from Representative Ben Baker? Ben Baker, talented politician, good fundraiser.
Yeah.
You've got that still primary likely Carter. He hasn't announced he's running yet, right?
No, I mean, if I were a freshman, or if I was a senior representative and I had the chance to run for a state Senate seat and I had really nothing else going on, I feel like I would do that. But that's just my personal opinion. Baker could choose not to.
Guy's got $100,000 on hand, which is very impressive.
Yeah.
Most of that is in his candidate committee, which is even more impressive. You can buy TV with it. I don't know. To me, if you're him, it's an interesting dichotomy. Do you run now and face I would say, still slightly unlikely victory?
Yeah.
I mean, but competitive for sure. Or do you wait 4 years and you probably if you put another 50 on that 100 this interim, you're probably looking at by far front runner status, right?
No, yeah, I don't see why he wouldn't be a front runner if he ran after Carter's second term. But yeah, I think as of now, I would say Carter is likely Carter. She's been extremely impressive this session and has been getting a lot of good attention, especially when it comes to getting legislation through, as well as
Jill Carter has
working with
built a
leadership.
very influential crew. She's very tight with Senator Moon and Senator Nicola. The three of them have formed their own kind of coalition of conservatives, and they're principled about it. And then she's become a very good state senator. I think the problem for Representative Baker might be, what are you running on?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, what has she done that, I mean, I've watched him kind of chart a different course on dispensaries and some different things, but I'm not totally sure.
I don't think you can really outflank Jill Carter on the right either.
Yeah.
That'd be a really hard task to do.
I could. I mean, Ben Baker's a good politician. I'm sure he could find the Senate didn't get enough done.
Yeah.
Things like that. Things that I'm just thinking, how do you pin some of that stuff on to Senator Carter? Seems to me it's going to be a little harder than some folks have surmised to really pin that dysfunction on her.
Yeah. No, I just don't see. I mean, I don't doubt that Ben Baker could do it. He's an extremely intelligent and talented guy, but I just don't know how you beat Carter on something like that.
Well, I think you just have to out popularity her, because I think it's tough to attack a Republican woman.
Yeah.
That's a slippery slope. I also I don't maybe the issue's there and I just haven't followed it closely enough. I'm not sure what the issue for a conservative would be like, oh, you voted for this, or you didn't vote for that, or whatever. I don't know that there's an issue that's easily compelling you could describe to people, but I think the true possibility is Ben Baker might just beat her on popularity.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm him, probably have a better shot of just straight up saying I'm Ben Baker, elect me, than trying to have to pull her down.
Yeah.
I think you could see guys in Southwest Missouri get a little put out if you're bashing a woman too much.
Yeah.
I think the reason Trump was right to never debate Kamala Harris again is he didn't quite know how to take on a woman that had some likability. Hillary Clinton, obviously, you could say whatever. No one likes her. I mean, that was, really there's nothing you could say to her that everybody in America is like, hell yes.
Yeah.
But Kamala Harris is a little more likable, which you'd almost damn near have to be, right?
Yeah.
So after that, we're at, 16-10 now?
I believe so.
So either it'll be Carter or Baker, but they're going to send a Republican.
Yeah.
It's just that race is one to keep it on because it's possible of a primary. And so that's at 15-10. Now that takes it up to 16-10. So then you've got some open seats to look at here, and you've ranked them, I see. You've got 3 competitives, but you've ranked your open seat Republican races.
Yes.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we start at the bottom with number 5? We'll do it like Family Feud type style. You have Senate District 28, Sandy Crawford is retiring. What do you got there?
Brad Pollitt.
I think Pollock starts out as the lead. Now, Kelton, can you pull up the map there of the 28th Senatorial District? Let me know when you got it up there, bud.
It's on the screen.
Sorry?
It's on the screen.
So I think this is where, in an urban district, it's all the geography of the fourth.
Mm-hmm.
South City is different than maybe the middle part of St. Louis, than maybe the suburbs of Richmond Heights out to Ladue. You've got, in this case, Sandy Crawford. If you're looking at this seat, there's a guy named Sam Alexander,
Yes.
a doctor from Springfield who lives in Cedar County, who ran for Congress. Now, here's the thing: a doctor, you're thinking self-funder, right?
Yeah.
But he also ran for Congress, and there was a lot of talk of self-funding, but the self-funding didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So when you break that down, I'm like, I'm from Missouri. You got to show me. Like Wassinger ran once, didn't spend his money, got beat.
Yep.
And I always said, hey, if he spends his money, he's a legit threat.
Yeah.
And this time he did, and he was a legit threat, and he won. If you look at that district, though, the base of the population of that district's from the Pettis County area. Brad Pollitt knows everyone in Pettis County. If he doesn't, his wife does. If they don't, their children do. They are Mr. and Mrs. Sedalia, Mr. and Mrs. State Fair. Brad's done every possible thing you could do to be acclimated to that community, to know everyone you could know.
Yeah.
Be in the cattle business.
And
know
that's
lot
a
of people
community
south.
that kind of stuff really does matter.
And I think you'll have some money. I mean, Brad's got $6,000-7,000 on hand now, but if the doctor's going to put $250,000 into this, he's going to be a serious candidate. But I mean, what is the number you think he's got to put in? Let's say Brad Pollitt raises $300,000, which I think is possible. I could see himself staking himself to get him to $354,000. What does a doctor who has no name ID from the part of the district in Cedar County where there's not a lot of folks, what does a doctor need to do to win? What do you think? $500,000?
I think it'd have to be a little bit more, especially
Sure.
with the popularity that Pollitt has in that area. And
Yeah.
I think it's a testament to Brad's work in the House and his friendship with a lot of his colleagues that he's been able to kind of clear this path for himself. And I think that'll, in the end, will kind of lead to his victory against anybody who kind of challenge him.
All right, so I got that. So what you're saying now, these next 5 will be Republicans, open seats. But first is that. Now let's talk about, Kelton, you can pull up the 18th. You've rated this, Jake. So the race replaced Senator Cindy O'Loughlin as lean Sarah Graff. Tell me about her.
No, Sarah Graff, obviously, she's known from working in Senator Blunt's office and Representative Graves' office. So she's been around the area for a bit. And she, obviously, working with Graves, you're going to have a lot of connections to Axiom there. And I think Axiom will, if they go with her, they're going with her, I believe.
I believe that's right.
I would say that Axiom is a pretty hard competition to mess with in Northwest Missouri, especially Northeast Missouri too.
And I think, Cindy, you have Congressman Graves and his network will be for her. I think you saw Lewis Riggs, who I think would have been a fantastic state senator, look at the race and bow out.
Yeah.
The last, I think, with Sarah Graff, you take the Graves folks, the Axiom folks, which one and the same, but not 100%. But you add both those together, it's pretty much the same folks. But I think adding the two, you get some unique folks in different camps. Then Senator O'Loughlin, I think, will be for her.
Yeah.
Which I think Cindy is the unique politician that I think actually her endorsement might matter to some folks.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, I think she'll be. That's a tough one. Now you got Greg Sharp, one of the absolute best state legislators you'll ever see, a terrific guy. The ag community is going to have to contribute some to him. I mean, He is a farmer, which I think, Miss Graff is too. But Greg Sharp's a really good dude.
Yeah, no, he's from what I get in the House, he's very well respected by his colleagues.
Absolutely.
And is an extremely talented rep. But yeah, I think the Cindy endorsement will matter. If Cindy comes out for either one of them, I think that will help push them over the line. The question is, who's she going to endorse?
Well, I mean, it was a 4-way race last time.
Yeah.
And Cindy O'Loughlin had enough money to be second in a lot of places where their other candidates were actually from. I think Sarah, if you look at this time, Greg Sharp is not from the best part of the district, which really Sarah isn't either, but it's significantly better part of the district to be from than Greg is.
Yeah.
Then it's who has the most money to go introduce himself to some of these folks. Greg Sharp's going to have his own crew of people that maybe are just regular people, which can be, if you can harness them, more valuable. Sarah Graff is going to be. I think your lean Graff until you see something different. I think you may be right about that.
No, yeah, I think Graff will ultimately come to the winning point
All
there.
right,
But
now let's look at Senate District number 6. Mike Bernstetter up for re-election. This is going to be an interesting one.
I think this is by far, in terms of candidates, this is the most interesting.
So the district is split. Kelton, if you can put the 6th up there on the screen. The district is split. You have 53% of the population in Montauk and Cole. 47%, we'll call them the Lake counties down
Yep.
there, Miller, Morgan, Camden.
Yep.
If a Cole County person were to run alone, they probably win this.
Yeah.
And the Lake folks, like it was a matchup with Bernstetter versus a Lake guy, nice guy, veteran, good dude, good candidate actually. Bernstetter won handily, right? Now that was a senator seeking re-election, but still, I think you may pair it off. Let's first talk about north, the Cole County, Montauk County. You have Rudy Veit and Jefferson City Councilman Derek Spicer, right?
Yep.
Here's the reason I think you give some credence here. Rudy Veit is a god in Wardsville.
Yep.
He is actually a deity. There's St. Stanislaus, there's the Holy Mother, and then there's Rudy Veit. And the thing about Rudy Veit is, if Rudy Veit wanted to write himself a check, let's say, what do you think this? What would be enough money to run a great race in the 6th district? $500,000?
I think, yeah, I could see that.
I think Rudy Veit could write himself a check for $500,000.
Yeah.
And I think Rudy Veit would miss his mortgage payment.
No.
Now, I don't think he'll have to. I think he'll have a lot of trial attorney support. This is the interesting part with few of the trial attorneys, right? You've been buying extremists. You can buy them cheap.
Yeah.
You bring a Rudy Veit on, who's a skilled lawyer and legislator, on to coordinate him with some of the folks that are already just for whatever the trial attorneys are for.
Yeah.
That you start.
And somebody who's respected too. Rudy's very respected in that building.
You really start to talk about putting together not just a firewall, but you could actually go move some legislation your way.
Yeah.
But by this token, if you have that on one side, Derek Spicer has been hustling money. Derek Spicer has been working this fundraising. He's got Ozzie Smith as his best buddy. That doesn't hurt. He knows Neil Smith. He knows almost every major athlete from Kansas City to St. Louis. But he's been working.
Yeah.
Derek Spicer has been hustling and raising money. Lots of folks thought I think for a moment he was in the state rep race, which I think he would be the by far front runner.
Yeah.
This is going to be interesting to see. I mean, he's ran for office before. It was a competitive race for city council. He did very well. How big can he build that base out, right? And how much money will Rudy? I think Rudy Veit has the advantage here. The question is going to be, if they were to sit down amongst themselves and pick one of them is the state senator, right?
Yeah.
But now let's look at the southern part of the district. What do you got?
Let's see.
Well, first of all, from the southern part of the district is Jeff Vernetti, who makes his outstanding salad dressing and spaghetti sauce made down in Camdenton, Missouri.
He's going to have to give us an extra one so I can try it.
Well, that was the thing when he gave me the 2. I'm like, I think we should have refrigerated the spaghetti sauce. So
Probably.
we're probably going to need to do spaghetti sauce if we're going to try it at all.
Yeah.
Casey actually thought of that. I didn't really think of that. So the southern part of that district, you've got former Rep. Lisa Thomas is making all kinds of waves.
Yeah, she likes to make the noise down there, so.
She's talked about running against Vernetti, but I don't know. But after the Post-Dispatch called Jeff Vernetti too conservative,
I think that kind of galvanizes his support in that
if
district.
I'm Vernetti, I buy every copy. I send them to every business owner, every person with any sense, and say, look, the Post hates me already. Look at me. What a great job I'm doing. Then you have down there, here's your wild card. The guy that ran last time's a nice guy. And Kelton, I can't remember his name. Can you I don't remember the guy's name. I apologize. He's a very nice man. I met him, a veteran that ran against Bernstetter. I have not heard a peep out of him running, but he might have a different circle. Then we got but I'll tell you the wild card down there, Ike Skelton. Number one, that's a name everybody knows.
Yep.
Trust me, it ain't the Ike Skelton you're thinking. Ike Skelton was your activist guy, rabble-rouser on Facebook that won the presiding commissioner's race.
Yeah.
Now, this is interesting. First of all, this is a great time to thank our sponsors, United Fiber, the Courtyard by Marriott. We're talking Derek Spicer. We've got to talk the Courtyard by Marriott, right?
Yeah.
And I'll pull from my site of knowledge before I tell you a very interesting story. That is a pewter stein, by the way. Thank you very much. A very nice lady. Let me tell you this story real quick. We do that. A lady in St. Louis County who I appreciate very much. There's two of them. One's named Julia, the one name I can use. Sent me this pewter stein, which I'm very grateful for. It's lovely. It'll go great in there. And they sent me the history of St. Louis County. Now, I've not read it yet, but what I'm thinking is you've got like Pierre Laclede and St. Louis County is about here, and then the rest of it's the history of the strip mall.
Yeah.
Right?
There might be a paragraph about Francis Slay.
I think this part's on the cul-de-sac, and then that part. No, but seriously, thank you. I cannot wait to read it. It looks awesome, and the pewter stein's wonderful. Thank you so much. Let's talk about the 47% of the district. You have Lisa Thomas. You'll have some other folks make waves about running from down there. The interesting name that you could see is Ike Skelton.
Yeah.
So he's the presiding commissioner, right? The conservation department puts up one of those camera readers, which is total bullshit. They have no right to. I totally agree with them. You have no right taking people's license plates just because they come on state park.
Yeah.
That is bullshit. Mind your own business. Go help a raccoon into a tree or out of a tree, whichever one you do. That you have no right to take people's license plates.
I usually go to parks to escape governments, not to be
Exactly.
monitored by governments.
Scott Rydell. That's right. Good call by Kelton and the Research Center. Kelton, is the Kelton cam up?
It is. Would you like me to turn it
Well,
on?
you got a haircut I want to show everybody.
He's also very well dressed today.
He is. You and the wife got plans, or?
No, I just like to freshen up sometimes.
You look good. You look good. As everybody can see from the Kelton cam, you look good. When you get that Kelton cam sponsor, that's what we need to do.
We did. Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, what we should do is say he was bald, and then he joined like the Hair Club for Men or something. Get one of those people to sponsor it.
Or some like shampoo brand, like Dove shampoo.
Chewbacca shampoo.
He's got his hair all
awesome,
styled.
yeah.
That'd be
sweet.
sweet.
So Ike Skelton is the presiding commissioner of Camden County. The Department of Conservation, I think maybe even the federal or something like that, has a license plate scanner. So if you come onto this park, they scan your plates, and who knows what the government does with it. Who even wants to know? So Ike Skelton did the thing you're not supposed to do. He sees a wrong and he tries to right it.
Yeah.
So he goes out and he starts monkeying around with this. I don't know if he stole the camera, disabled the camera, but I've seen some still shots of him on the camera taking the thing down. Now, the white trash in me says, hell yes, I love it, but you can't do that.
He could be a hero to a lot of people.
Well, let me tell you how this is going to go. Let me pull my pewter stein of knowledge. Ike Skelton has a bit of a coarse personality. He can be quite tempestuous. He fit the mood of the lake when he ran against an incumbent, very good dude who I knew. I have met Ike Skelton several times. Don't know him well. If they prosecute him and he gets convicted for this, right?
Yeah.
Then everybody's going to assume he did something pretty bad, and his career, I don't know if it's over, but it's certainly set back.
Yeah.
If, for however, whatever the reason they don't prosecute him, and he doesn't have a conviction in this, he's going to walk out more popular than ever.
No, yeah.
He will be the absolute leader of the Lake of the Ozarks. It's truly an all-in moment for Ike Skelton. He's all in. If they convict him of something, he loses. He's out. Maybe not forever, but he'll be set back. If he keeps his job and he's not convicted of anything and all those things, Ike Skelton will be a bigger deal than ever.
Yeah.
That's just my white trash prediction.
I think he'd shoot up in the chances of winning that Senate race then, if he comes out of that. Now, maybe a bit better than before.
Well, here's the problem you have, though, right? You have Ike Skelton. You'll have the kind of the Gil Griswold, Stacey Shore clique down there. Probably has some sympathetic. I know he considers them supporters of his.
Yeah.
I don't pretend to know what they think of him. And obviously they're pretty good supporters to have down there.
Yeah.
But if you're the trial lawyers, Ike Skelton is your perfect guy you've been wanting. Hates most of all the Republicans, kind of ostracized a little bit from some folks, got some backers that are already pro-trial lawyer. He'll probably swear to God he'll vote for all the trial lawyer stuff if they'll give him money. I mean, it's common sense, right?
Yeah.
But does he, would they pass over Rudy Veit, an actual trial lawyer, to support him?
That's the tough question. I don't know if they would, because I think if I were them giving somebody money, I would see Rudy as being the more attractive one, as somebody who could get stuff done there. If they wanted to actually pass a couple things that would help them out.
All right. So if you have Veit, and you have Spicer, and you have Lisa Thomas on her own, I think the Cole County guys win.
Yeah.
I think if you have Lisa Thomas, the two Cole County guys, Lisa Thomas and Ike Skelton, I think it's a toss-up.
Yeah.
Now, I think if you have Ike Skelton and he gets for whatever he doesn't get a conviction on this, and Lisa Thomas does not run, I think a Ike Skelton that beats this is right there, maybe the marginal favorite if there's two credible Cole County candidates.
Yeah. I can see that.
I don't know that. I mean, Lisa, you have to keep in mind, did in all seriously lose a state rep re-election, and so I think there's a little bit of I don't know how to say it. I mean, when you lose one, it's hard to move up. Jim Talent did it, but it's tough, right?
Yeah.
I think if you have an Ike Skelton he'll say cleared or whatever. If he's not convicted, will be the standard. If he's not convicted of anything, I think he's very tough to beat. All right, so what else we got here?
Let's see. Moving up, we got.
We got the race to replace Justin Brown.
Who I heard is now back from his expedition to Germany.
Well, so he went to Germany not on his own accord, but I do think he has. He said he was trapped there for a few days. I think we all know what happened. The senator made it to Deutschland, decided he never wanted to leave. They finally booted him out. I'm sure he ticked off the wrong people, if I know Justin right. Let's be real. Oh, tomorrow night, 40th birthday party for Ashley Bax, his chief of staff.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's going to be great. I think folks are going to get a text later today about it.
Okay.
So I don't have to personally text everyone. Let's talk about this. We've got this district. Why don't we go left to right? Because I think left to right is the biggest impact on the race.
Yeah.
So let's go left to right, starting in Laclede County.
Yep.
You have this, the race to replace Brown as a toss-up. Looking across the Serengeti at this race, tell me why you got toss-up, and tell me a little bit about everybody running.
Well, I think right now it's a toss-up. I think depending on the one person you're referring to, and I think that is if Representative Jeff Knight decides to hop in.
Yep.
I think it would be a lot more difficult for somebody like Steelman to win this if Jeff Knight steps in. Not that it's impossible, but I think Jeff Knight would definitely complicate things for him. So that's who I think would be the kind of wrench in the operation for Steelman. I
honestly do think that at times Knight has been closer to running and sometimes farther from running.
Yeah.
I honestly, people say I don't know if I'm going to run. Don Mayhew is planning to run.
Yeah.
Bill Hardwick, if he says he's not going to run, he's planning to run.
Yeah.
I think Jeff Knight truly has not made a decision. Now, maybe he's made a decision privately, him and Amy. I don't know about, but from my reading of knowing him, and as a person who holds him in a very high regard, I think when he says he's truly undecided if he's going to run or not, I actually think he's undecided.
Yeah.
So you'd have Laclede County with 28% of the vote. Jeff Knight would have so funny. People on Facebook act like, oh, you're gonna have the chirping, but I mean, of that 7,200 votes, I mean, he's gonna have a very harsh claim to 4,500 of those.
Yeah.
Then Hannah Kelly, who I don't think has made a formal announcement, but has done certainly more to show she's running than Jeff.
Yeah.
She only has 6,000 on hand. Comes from Wright County with 14% of the vote. I would say she would maybe go to the Right to Life folks. Here's the problem with Right to Life. You need everybody next August. You need everyone on your side to win. Do they start making endorsements? Because, I mean, honestly, if you look at this race right now, Hannah Kelly would not be, if we were having an NBA draft and all these people were there, she would not be picked first or second in this.
No.
With the Right to Life endorsement, it bolsters her chances. But does it piss off the supporters of all these other folks?
Yeah.
And can you do that with your thing on the ballot?
That is the difficulty, especially in races like this one, where they got a lot of people who would be willing to help out the Right to Life cause.
And they're all going to vote totally pro-life.
Yeah, but you also run the possibility of taking somebody off because you picked an opponent.
Or ticking 4 people off.
Yeah, which would have a higher chance of winning.
Or let's just say Hannah doesn't win, but they're ticked off and they don't want to help you with your ballot initiative.
Yep.
I mean, that's going to be interesting for Right to Life. Is it about the ballot initiative or is it about trying to build this power base, really not having that much to do with abortion in the state Senate. It's going to be an interesting pull for them. Don Mayhew, love Don Mayhew. You know Don Mayhew somewhere because you can hear that voice, right? And Bill Hardwick. Bill Hardwick has the best backstory of anybody running. They're at a Pulaski, which you'll look at the population. This is going to throw you, but a lot of the population that's counted in Pulaski County is the military base.
Yeah.
And they vote back where they're from. They don't change their voting registration.
Yeah.
So 14% of the district's Pulaski with 2 candidates from there.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, there's two. Before we get to Joe Steelman, there's 2 questions about this primary. One, does Jeff Knight run?
Yep.
And if Jeff Knight does not run, you have over a fourth of the electorate where you can go spend money. Now, Don Mayhew's told me he knows a lot of folks there, which, the thing is, if Don Mayhew's somewhere, he's there.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to miss him. Because, Don's a loud dude. You'll know he's there. So Don's personal projection is going to be better. Hardwick, I think, has the best story.
Yeah.
And if we're looking right now, who's got the most money, Hardwick has got right about $200,000 on hand. I would say that's halfway to funding a race.
Yeah, no, I think Hardwick right now, we'll wait to see how Steelman does. And if Jeff Knight doesn't step in, I think Hardwick has a really good chance of out fundraising the rest.
So then let's go a little further east. Joe Steelman. Tell me about Joe Steelman.
Well, Joe Steelman obviously is a son of famed former elected official David Steelman.
The legendary David and Sarah Steelman.
And so I think that will be, and he's coming from the same county, so I think that'll be a huge boon to him, is that name recognition.
I mean, look, I'll tell you, in every town, if you're a prominent family, you're going to have a little vocal minority that don't like you. Mm-hmm. But that's a very vocal minority. The Steelmans in Dent, because, Dorman Steelman was from Dent County.
Yeah.
Now, the Steelmans are very known as, they live in Rolla, so they're associated with Rolla. But Dent County, I think, will vote more loyal to the Steelmans than even Phelps County will. But I do think you've got Joe Steelman. You put those together, you've got 36% of the vote in Phelps and in Dent. That's not even counting the 6% in Marys, which I think the Steelmans would have a very good crossover to. Mm-hmm. I tell you what, looking at it right now, you've got Joe Steelman. He's got this wonderful thing. He's got a blank slate.
Yeah.
Joe can paint whatever slate he wants. His background's solid. That name is solid. Now let's look at this race from the provision of Knight is in. Mm-hmm. Hannah Kelly would love for Knight to be out.
Yeah.
It gives her a place to go try to get votes from. That's got a core right-wingers that might take to Hannah. If you're Hardwick, you need Knight not to run.
Yeah.
This race is a much better race for you with Knight out because you have a place you can go campaign.
Yeah.
And, look, they can all tell their stories. Bill Hardwick has the best story to tell.
Yeah.
If he has the money to tell it and the time. If you're Mayhew, God, you definitely want Knight not to run because you want to get that pot of gold in Laclede County.
Yeah.
Because I don't see you busting too much into Phelps and Dent. I think if you're Joe Steelman, on the right side of the district, you're Joe Steelman. Mm. On the left side of the district, you're going to outspend everybody.
Yep.
And I think he could put that together. Now $200,000 is a significant head start for Hardwick.
Yeah.
Now, Mayhew could put money in if he wants to.
No, I think he could, but yeah, the question is, will he?
So, I think the questions you have to have answered is there's 2 questions. The first question is Jeff Knight in?
Yeah.
The only person that really knows that right now is Jeff. Then I think you switch over to Mayhew and Hardwick almost have to sit down and talk, right? Because if they don't, they got problems.
Yeah.
How do you really run that race? I don't get it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think Pulaski has enough votes that you can sacrifice those and make them up other places.
Yeah.
If you're the Republican rule primaries, if your geographical base is cut, that's a real detriment. Mm-hmm. So I don't think Don Mayhew will run as a spoiler. If he runs, he'll run to win. So I think it's going to be interesting to see come the fall, do those 2 of them sit down and say, okay, only one of us can do this. If they whittle that down to 1 and Knight's not in, then I think they have a very legit. That's a bad day for Joe Steelman.
Yeah.
Joe Steelman wants them to never talk, and I think if you're Joe Steelman, have Jeff Knight run, right? Mm-hmm. Lock that area down, and you'll just try to come in second everywhere that is not your home base, right?
Yeah.
I think the race, if everybody that's saying they're interested in running runs, I feel like if Joe Steelman puts together an impressive quarter, he becomes the front runner.
No, yeah, I'd agree.
And while it's up in the air, it's a toss-up. But if you had to guess ride or die now, I would say it's Steelman Hardwick tight neck and neck.
Yeah.
Waiting to see if Mayhew runs. Waiting to see if Knight runs.
Yeah, I think if Knight doesn't run, it's gonna be between Steelman and Hardwick, unless Don's able to cut himself a check.
All right. Now let's talk about the race that went from a race that we had as a potential primary for an incumbent to the top open seat.
Mm-hmm.
It takes the Curtis Gregory, Doug Ritchie spot from last cycle's tip sheet. Mary Elizabeth Coleman announced that chair right there you're sitting in. Oh, well, I guess she announced on your Twitter account that she wasn't running again.
Yeah, originally I had Justin Brown's district as the top race until Mary Elizabeth dropped out. And I think this will be the one that everyone keeps an eye on.
So out of the gate, the guy that I think Renee Reuter has announced she's running, correct?
Yep.
I think Kenny Waller wants to kind of survey the ground a little bit. Mm-hmm. He's had some health issues. Also, Kenny's an old school politician. Mm-hmm. He's not going to jump quick, right? Mm-mm. Renee Reuter has an ace in her upper sleeve, though. That Chevy dealership, Reuter Chevrolet, is very well known. Mm-hmm. And ask Mike Kehoe how nice it is when every single person has heard of your last name before when you run a race. It's not bad. When he ran for state senate, that car dealer, you may or may not know who your state senator is, but you knew you wanted a Mike Kehoe deal.
Yeah.
Right? If you had no interest in politics, you knew a Mike Kehoe deal. So Renee, I think, is a good candidate, but also I think the name ID is something you have to really keep in mind there. In a place, especially in Arnold, it's very hard to get name ID.
Yeah.
Now, Festus, there's really Arnold, which is kind of St. Louis, and then the rest of Jeffco. Mm-hmm. I'm more appealing to the Crystal Meth City and places like that in Jeffco. But, for people that like the sort of thing of Arnold, that sort of thing those kind of people like. Castile comes out of the gate, maybe the front runner?
I think so. I mean, obviously Mary Elizabeth has endorsed Castile or has said that she would like to see Castile run, and now he's formally in the race. Right now I have it lean Castile.
There's one person. Do you think she goes and makes that endorsement personally known to? And that's Rex Singfield. Do you think she goes to him and says, this is the person?
If I was Castile, I'd be hoping she would.
I mean, endorsing any politician's endorsement outside of Trump has limited effect compared to what it had 20 years ago. But I wonder if her endorsement to the Singfield camp would be, I think it actually would carry some weight.
Yeah.
And if you're David Castile, one of those big fat 6-figure checks would feel pretty sweet, right?
Yeah.
Castile's a business guy. I think he'll be a good fundraiser. Renee's in. Kenny's thinking about it. Mm-hmm. You have David Robertson, who...
He's an unknown, but he's more the kind of grassroots type. He was very adamant about wanting to see Mary Elizabeth not be reelected. And
yeah, he was in this race before she dropped out.
Yeah.
He considers himself a Bill Eigel grassroots type guy.
Yeah.
Good for him. Now, here's the other thing. There's another guy that considers himself a Bill Eigel type guy, and Jim Avery. Now, Jim Avery is a former representative from St. Louis County. He is has a big personality.
Yeah.
Will be very good on a door. Will he do the doors? I honestly don't know. I don't know that he knows for sure if he'll do the doors. Because, I mean, when he ran in South County when it was very competitive. He knows how to win a tough race. I don't know if he had a primary back then. He might have. But I know he had generals all the time.
Yeah.
Very tough race. He has a good relationship with labor. I assume the trial attorneys, that's where their money will go.
Yeah.
Jim, I don't know. Seems like, from just knowing him personally, he could probably fund part of the race if he wanted to.
Yeah.
Avery will be a big contender. I think, if I'm Castile, that's the guy I set my guns on, right? Mm-hmm. And if I'm Avery, I think I'm shooting at Castile, right?
Yeah.
So who do you think wins that, Avery, Castile? Let's say Renee. Renee's in. Let's say she gets to around $150,000.
Does Ken jump in though?
That's a real question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the questions are, Avery, is he really in? Which I lean toward yes. Is Castile in? I think that's a definite.
Yeah.
Then you look at is Kenny in? If I'm Kenny, because of my name ID, I think I could sit and take a minute.
Yeah.
Think about it, and then he'll have. Probably
that is one question somebody asked me was, what's the name recognition difference between Castile and Ken Waller?
Ken has a higher name ID.
Yeah.
No question. I would say Renee probably does as well.
Yeah. I think Castile though has the opportunity to get the fundraising to overcome that. I would say
Yeah, but I mean that's
that is serious fundraising.
well,
though.
is the business community going to sit back again and get beat?
Yeah.
That's really the question. I mean, I do think they've set back and been played nice, and the trial lawyers are eating their lunch right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so after those go in, it's 22. What are we? We're 21-10.
Yep.
Then we've got one race here you've rated as potentially competitive, and that's the race to replace Tony Luetkemeyer. I'm hearing it's an interesting world in how long Tony Luetkemeyer will stay a state senator. So right now we're at 21-10 Republican coming back, and we pretty much know that's the best day for the Democrats is 21-13, and the best day for Republicans is 24-10, right?
Yep.
So in these three, let's talk first about the race to replace Tony Luetkemeyer. Sean Pouchet's announced he's in. It's awesome.
Hey, okay.
Fun guy.
I was hearing that he was thinking about it.
I like that. Well, he might. I think he's seriously considering it, I should say. I thought I saw something where he announced it. It might have been he was seriously considering it. Then you're going to have Nathan Willett, Kansas City Councilman, and Brenda Shields, highly respected rep from St. Joseph. I doubt they both run.
No, I don't think they would both run if they decided.
And they're in different legislators. I don't know what Nathan Willett's background is, but he can't be some insane right winger and get elected to the city council down there at the very southern tip of this district.
No, yeah, Nathan's a pretty impressive city councilman, and I think he'd have a really good chance at making a lot of good local connections when it came to fundraising as well as getting his name out. But I mean, Brenda Shields is pretty impressive too. It'd be a tough one between those two.
I don't think they'd run against each other. I don't know who would win if they did, but I would say probably the stars align in that area behind one of the two of them probably as soon as this summer. And then, I don't think either one of those two can be beat. Martin Rucker was as good a candidate as you possibly could have had. Now, they did cut part of rural Buchanan out of that district. The eastern, 3rd? Gower, famous hometown of Nancy Giddens, has actually been cut out, I think. And it's in Rusty Black's district. So we'll see. I still say it's very, very likely that if the Republicans get behind Willett or Shields, they carry that district, and I don't think it'll be competitive.
Yeah. No,
Ashley Awney's in that district. Maybe if she ran, I don't even
that
know
would
what
be
Democrat
interesting
could
to
do
see.
it. She would be a serious contender, but I just think that Buchanan. It's funny. Platte County used to kind of vote Republican, and Buchanan was solidly Democrat. Now they're kind of switching.
Yeah.
Buchanan's becoming more and more Republican, and Platte is becoming more and more Democrat. This will be a competitive. You start looking at the districts that will be competitive 8 years from now. When we write a tip sheet, I think we'll be talking about 34th is more competitive. But right now, they have two top candidates, and it's still a Republican seat, right?
Yeah. No, I think the main thing is that if Willett or Shields doesn't run, the other one does.
And I think and whichever one runs wins.
Yeah.
All right, that takes us to realistically, we're down to we are down to really it's 22-10. That's what it's. I mean, if the Democrats did some amazing, wonderful thing, they might get the 34th, but doubtful, right?
Yeah.
It's really 22-10 with 2 in the balance. Let's start with our number 2 race. Mike Searpoy, term limited. Kerry Engel, you got a legitimate force. What are the Republicans going to do in the 8th?
You know what? That's the question I keep getting asked.
What's John Patterson going to do?
I don't know. I hear that he has not really gave a decision yet, but I've also heard that he kind of isn't that interested.
Well, I mean, obviously, if you were wanting to do this, you'd be out running, right? But John Patterson's the best fundraiser in the state legislature.
Yep.
Now that of anybody that might run again, I guess you could say, by far and away the best fundraiser. If you take out Tony, Cindy, and Lincoln out of the Senate, he is the king of fundraising for everybody else, and probably on par with them. He's always been a great fundraiser. He's always raised more money than he should have for a state rep, for leadership, for now that he's running the caucus. If he wants it, I think he runs, and I think he's the front runner.
Yep.
Even if with Kerry Engel being a very good candidate, right? I mean, Kerry's a good candidate.
Yeah. No, I think Yeah, that right now, from what I've been hearing, it would be if Patterson does not run. I've heard that there's talk that there's possibly another doctor that would run, and that being Mike Tormina.
Well, I've heard that too, but the first question of the race is Patterson in this. If
Yeah.
he's in this, the Republicans are like, whew, feel much better about this, right?
Yeah.
If he's not, and Kerry Ingle still is a top recruit for Democrats, then you got Dan Stacy that's running. Now, I think Dan could grab onto some folks in a primary in Jackson County. Dan's a force. I mean, Dan's got a legitimate shot to win a primary, even against Dr. Tormina or whoever. Jeff Coleman talked about this race. I don't think he's in it right now, but he's definitely kicked the tires on it in the past. Dan Stacy's in, though. He has nothing else. He's nothing but time on his hands.
I saw his signs up last election cycle. He's already getting some signs up, getting the name ID out. So
He will work it.
yeah,
And he will have a crew of folks that I think will be sympathetic to his cause. I still think in Lee Summit, you have someone that comes in with a ton of money and is the favorite, but who that person is, like I think Patterson's a clear favorite over Stacy, right?
Yeah.
He's also the clear favorite over anybody. A doctor, you always got to see how they take to this.
Yeah.
Not all doctors take to this well. But so you're from there. What do you think? Tormina Ingle, and it's up to how popular Trump is on Election Day?
yeah. I think that will actually be a huge factor in this is how Trump is viewed at that midterm.
Because Lee Summit is one of the places that will turn on him first.
Yes. And there could be maybe a couple smaller areas of Blue Springs that might too, but Blue Springs has trended pretty Republican lately. So yeah, I think that is the question. I think one of the benefits I think that Kerry Ingle has is I think she's really personable on the doorstep. She is here, of course. When you talk to her, she's kind of disarming. She's very intelligent. She knows what she's doing. I think she'd be a very impressive candidate, and I think it depends on how Trump is received on that midterm.
I think if you're her, you could figure if Patterson really wanted to do this, he probably would have.
Yeah.
That gives you a sigh of relief. And then you whoever else, just bring them on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she probably, if she could pick, she'd pick Dan Stacy, I assume.
Yeah.
But be careful what you wish for. Dan Stacy will work at this.
Yeah, I think this would be one of the races that Dems think they could pick up, and I think this would be one of the ones that she would benefit from is getting a lot of fundraising out of that.
All right, the top race in the state, we're at 22-10 with one competitive in Lee Summit. The second competitive race is the 30th. Lincoln Huff, term limited, big shoes to fill. Let's start on the Democrat side. I think this is a very simple calculation. If Crystal Quaid wants to be the Democrat nominee for state senate in the top Senate race in the state, and also in a year where all you have is an incumbent auditor running for re-election, no U.S. Senate race, and as of now, no incumbent talking of resigning or retiring out of Congress, the top race in the state is SD 30.
Yep.
Crystal Quaid could be the top Democrat running on the ballot again if she chose to be. It's up to her. I think she has first dibs, right? And she's earned that.
Yeah, no, I think she would be the top contender on the Dem side.
So let's she does it, she's the nominee. She doesn't. You have Betsy Fogle and Stephanie Hine. The Fogle last name is like the Vogel last name in Jeff City, or the Elman last name in St. Charles, or Dempsey, or it is a name that everybody knows, and the positivity is 90-10. Betsy has ingratiated herself as a very able recipient of that last name and taken it farther. I think she's very popular. I think she starts off as a very tough candidate to beat in a general election.
Yeah.
Because a lot of Republicans who vote Republican in other ballots will also vote for her.
Yeah.
Now, Stephanie Hine, that lady is a worker. Terrific candidate. I think that, she is, if the ball gets passed to her, she is a very able person to make this a competitive race. But I think it starts with Crystal, then goes to Betsy. On the Republican side, you have, Brian Gellner?
Brian Gellner and
he ran against
Melanie,
Curtis Trent 2
Melanie
years ago.
Stinnett, yep.
4 years ago, I guess now. Will be 4 years ago. And Representative Melanie Stinnett. If I'm the Republicans, I feel good with a woman there, right?
I think if your choices in the Democrat side were all women, I feel like as a Republican, I would probably want somebody who could counter that too. And I think Melanie would be a good pick for that.
In the age of of when they took the majority, the consultants were helpful. To me, there'll be a primary probably, whether it's Brian Gellner's a top-tier candidate, Melanie Stennett's a top-tier candidate.
Yep.
I think it kind of comes down to me, and you've written it here, can Melanie Stennett come out with a big quarter?
Yeah.
I think that would go a long way towards showing folks she's the person we got to get behind. I don't think the Democrats have a primary. I think they will decide this in-house, whether it's Quaid, Fogle, possibly Stephanie Hine. I don't think there'll be some bloody primary where they'll be broke.
No, yeah. Because I would see this being a district that the Dems really need to kind of work together on and not go against each other for.
Well, they'll need they are still, even though this seat is very close, even though the Democrats are winning this seat, even down further than president, it is a Republican place where all the Republicans from around the area coalesce to help and pitch in. Well, Governor Kehoe, do you think he would get involved here? I doubt it.
I think if Crystal was in, I don't think he would.
Will he get involved in the primary and say, okay, Melanie, Brian, whichever one he prefers, I'd appreciate if you would not run for this?
No, I could see him doing that, but during the general, I don't know. I think he would kind of just let it.
Well, in the general, he'll be waving the GOP banner, but
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much I think where he could really change the race fundamentally
is the primary.
would be to come in and try to talk to one of both candidates and say, well, I think you should come out.
Yeah.
I have to think Mike Kehoe, as good as he is at this, he'll make some phone calls for the Senate campaign folks, if not the candidates themselves. But where he could really save the Republicans more money than he could raise them probably is if he came in and said, we don't want a primary here.
Yeah.
Is that the level he'll get involved in? I'm pessimistic.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
All right, so if it's Quaid Stennett, give me your handicap.
Well, right now for the general, I've got lean Republicans. I would say Stennett, but I think
Gellner.
I think that could be a toss-up.
I'm with you. Fogle Gellner.
Toss-up. I think lean Fogle, perhaps.
Fogle Stennett.
I think toss-up would be pretty tough.
I think it'd be very hard at this point to predict a winner.
Yeah.
I think you can predict a winner, and Jeff Schrag is going to be
Yeah.
the mayor of Springfield next week. I may drive down there. I got his thing in the middle today. So you're saying lean Stennett in the primary.
Yeah.
I think that's right. But it's one of those things where if she has to spend all her money in the primary,
Yeah.
the Republicans will fund that race. Some of them have other ones. But if you're her, boy, you'd sure like to hold on to your money. And because Betsy Fogle, if she's a nominee, will be able to do. I don't think she'll have a primary.
Do you think national politics could have a say on this one, just like the 8th, possibly?
I think the 8th will have more of a say.
More of a
nationally.
say.
All right, so give me I'm put you on the spot. You've got it 22 to 10 to 2. Tell me what it'll be in January of next a year from January. What will the state Senate be?
I think Republicans will return with their same amount, but if I was to give a different answer, I would say Republicans lose one seat.
But you're saying they come back 24-10.
Yeah.
I say they come back 23-11.
Yeah.
I think they win one of the two.
Which one do you think?
I think it's hard. It's impossible to predict.
That's right.
You got if Patterson's in, that changes, and I think probably they can put all their money in Springfield.
Yeah.
And they will have lots of money. I think first it ends on Patterson.
Yeah.
What does he do?
Yeah.
Number 2, who is the Democrat in the 30th? Number 3, can the Republicans figure it out without a primary where they have to spend all their money? Then number 4, how well does the doctor take to politics or whoever is going to be? You have Dan Stacey on one side. Other side, you'll have another candidate, at least one.
Yeah.
How well does that person, if they're not in politics, who are they? How do they take to things?
Yeah.
To me, I think there's the 4 questions that'll get you there. And the good thing about those 4 questions, I mean, you're probably going to know what Patterson's going to do by veto session.
Yeah.
mean,
if I were Patterson, I would want to give as much notice as possible, like Mary Elizabeth did. I would want to give as much notice as possible.
well, if I'm him, I don't say anything till after session.
Yeah.
But I think after session, I probably at least give everybody a hint of where my intentions are, so that a guy that wants to come in and run can start raising. I mean, no one's going to want to give money while the speaker's considering the race.
Yeah.
So I think I don't know that. To me, I would wonder if he says anything during session, but pretty quick after. That makes sense to me. All right, we've talked for a long time. You're saying 24-10. Kelton, we've got that noted, right?
It has been written down.
I'm going to go 23-11, mostly because I got my man Flat Doug here helping run things. I think the 4 questions that really, as far as that goes, the bigger question is what type of state senator are you going to have? You're going to have a state senator that goes back to fighting and Facebook. You have this kind of the team mentality continue. We could obviously go down there and pick candidates that would probably lean more to one of the other sides of that.
Yeah.
I did hear Jim Avery say he wants to be another Bill Eigel. The Senate needs another Bill Eigel, which for us is very interesting because it's great to cover. But I'm not sure how much that a pro tem Bean or Trent or Fitzwater would appreciate.
Yeah.
would appreciate that. Anyway, great job on your first tip sheet. Folks, when will it be up? When are you going to have this posted?
We probably have it by today.
Why don't since we sent this out to, if you subscribe to the Whispering Gallery, you've already got all this information. You can get it at least by tomorrow morning,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And we'll go from there. We'll probably be back with a midweek update at least Tuesday or Wednesday. Watch the social media channels, and then you'll be back Thursday.
Yep.
Nice. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate our sponsors. Thank you again for this book on St. Louis County history. Pewter Stein. How do you get on with Pewter Stein? Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow or Wednesday here on TWMP Daily.